a journey into the macabre, where reality blurs with nightmares. This is the Paramurder Cast, where the unseen becomes the unforgettable. Now to your hosts, Dave, Daniel, and CJ. Let the horrors begin.
Welcome to the Paramurder Cast, episode 6. This topic this week is Bigfoot. I'm your host, Daniel.
I'm CJ.
And I'm David.
Be sure to visit our website at paramurdercast.com for everything paramurder. You'll find a link to our merch store where we're releasing new designs all the time. So be sure to check it out and snag something awesome. If you'd like to support the show, subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/paramurdercast. We're creating bonus content just for our patrons each month. You can also find a donation link at the bottom of the episode information section on your favorite podcast platform. Every bit of support goes directly towards making the show even better.
Today, we're setting our sights on one of the most well-known and debated creatures of cryptozoology, Bigfoot. Is he a relic of forgotten time, a figment of our collective imagination, or simply a misinterpreted phenomenon? Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is described as a massive, hairy, human-like being said to stalk the dense forests of North America, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. Tales of this creature are steeped in folklore from both the United States and Canada, where it has become an icon of popular culture. From ancient legends to modern subcultures, Bigfoot has found his way into the very fabric of our society. But how did this myth become so widespread?
Bigfoot is my favorite cryptid of all time.
Do you?
My
Yeah,
favorite
he
cryptid.
just said he liked big feet.
Yeah, you do like big feet, don't you?
You know what they say about big feet?
They wear big socks?
They got long strides.
They drive a big car.
I don't mind Bigfoot. My biggest gripe with Bigfoot is, I don't know, probably the noun. I mean, there's got to be more than one Bigfoot, right? Or is this guy just that fast?
It's not fast in the normal sense. Like some part of it, if you look at it, there's some tales of him being a magical being that can, run through trees. Like run in one tree here and pop out of that tree fucking miles away.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of different theories behind Bigfoot. We're not going to go into some of the alternate theories of Bigfoot in this episode. I want to keep this one strictly just Native American folklore, but I mean, there's a ton of mythology on him being interdimensional.
Lord of the Rings is real. Bigfoot is the very last elf who didn't make it on the ship.
It's fucking cool, though. I mean, the reason I think I like Bigfoot as much as I do, I think we hit on it on one of the episodes previously, but there's a chance for something to be in the woods that we haven't discovered. You know what I mean? Like when you start looking at like the Amazon forest, when you start looking at some of the wilderness in Canada and stuff, I mean, you can't cover all those lands at all times. So there could definitely be something out there.
Oh, for sure. Like a giant bipedal monkey is probably the most believable cryptid of all of them,
Yeah, that's always been my take on it. And that's why I like Bigfoot. I mean, I would love if we got big enough to actually go out and do some of the tours, because there are some that are active. I mean, I would do one. I know chances are almost 100% you're not going to see shit. Right? Like I said, I mean, I like to believe, but I'm still skeptic at the same time, but it would still be just like a cool adventure to go out and fucking hunt Bigfoot with some of the research groups, or do it on our own. Just go out there and fucking ruck it.
We can control the groups.
Maybe 14 years ago, but I don't have it in me. Like, I'm going to need a guide.
Yeah, well, I mean, we would, of course, pay for a guide. I'm just talking about if we went alone, we would just hire a guide.
Because here's the thing. 14 years ago, I'm sure I could survive a week out in the woods just fine. I don't think I could survive a week in the woods now.
Yeah, a lot of them, I think they just go get remote cabins. I mean, because there's some areas where there's supposed activity and you can just go to like a remote cabin. So you're not roughing it. You're in a remote cabin, but you're fucking hundreds of miles in the woods.
Oh, no, I could still rough it, but I need to be prepared. What I mean is, like, if I were to go out and get lost, I think I'd survive a lot less amount of time than if I was in shape and young like I was 14 years ago. I'm pretty sure I could survive a week or two in the woods.
I'm so dead in the woods, dude. 100%.
A decade ago, dude, I could definitely beat Bigfoot in a fight. Now I'm old and washed up.
Hold and wash, dude. Bigfoot would tear you apart, bro.
Old, fat, ugly, and I don't
pull your
good.
arms off, man.
That's what Daniel said.
If there was a fucking ape that size, like some type of primate that size.
But even a primate half that.
I was going to say, like a
half of our size would fucking destroy us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think a small chimpanzee would rip you apart.
I think a primate a quarter of your size would fuck your day up.
Dude, I'd probably get fucked up by one of those little tiny horse monkeys that you see. The ones that are like robbing tourists.
Stories
of, like hanging out on the backpacks.
Little chipmunks.
You hear stories like spider monkeys biting people's fingers off and shit like that.
Bigfoot's a good story. I did want to touch on one thing. We're going to be going over episodes that are going to have thousands of stories attached to them. So by no means is this going to be the only episode we do on Bigfoot. You know what I mean? We're definitely going to have multiple episodes on Bigfoot over time. It's going to be the same when I do an episode on like demons. I want to touch on the top layer of like Bigfoot and the top layer of like demons. But then we're going to go into the thousands of stories that correlate with those such beings or phenomena. So I did want to touch on that because I did get asked that prior, talking to people, and they're like, what episode are you recording this weekend? I'm like, Bigfoot. And they're like, are you going to cover like everything on Bigfoot? And I'm like, there's no way.
We're not going to be sitting here for 5 weeks recording.
That's what I'm saying. We would be here for forever trying to touch on everything on Bigfoot.
So there's literally podcasts out there just about Bigfoot. That's the only thing they do.
I just wanted to get that out the way and clear the air in case anybody else has that same question that I was asked. These are just like the top layer. It's an introductory episode to Bigfoot. The same as will be done with ghosts or demons or anything of the sort. It'll be the introductory episode. And then there will be hundreds of fucking episodes, I'm sure. You know, if we can stick it out for as long as we want to, there'll be tons of episodes on Bigfoot.
With that being said, let's get into some of the historical and cultural contexts associated with Bigfoot. The legend of Bigfoot is not just a modern phenomenon, but has roots in ancient folklore and indigenous traditions. Many Native American tribes have long believed in large, mysterious creatures that roam the forest. For example, the Chehalis people. Among the Chehalis people of British Columbia, the creature is known as the Saskets, which translates to wild man or hairy man. These stories depict Saskets as a protector of the forest, though it can be vengeful if its territory is violated. The Saskets is both feared and revered, embodying the complex relationship between indigenous people and the wilderness.
You know, intrusive thought, but Saskets, I just keep thinking of like what are those like burlesque dancers? Yeah, like, but they're all like female Sasquatches, and they're just going.
I don't know what I said, but David started bouncing over here.
He was phenomenon. He was filming the Saskets, man.
Phenomenon.
Any World of Warcraft players out there, you may catch the tune.
I mean, it didn't originally come from World of Warcraft, but
yeah, it came from Sesame Street.
In Algonquin folklore, there is a creature known as the Mishipeshu, or water panther, which some have linked to Bigfoot due to its large size and elusive nature. Although it is more commonly associated with water rather than forests, Mishipeshu is considered a powerful and dangerous being that rules over the waters and is sometimes linked to the tales of giant creatures in the woods. The Cherokee speak of a creature called Sulkalu, a giant being with a keen sense of hearing and an ability to move swiftly through the forest. Sulkalu is sometimes compared to Bigfoot due to its size and elusive behavior. The Sulkalu is often depicted as having supernatural powers and a mischievous nature, reflecting the broader theme of giant beings in Cherokee mythology. These traditional accounts provide a rich tapestry of stories that predate modern Bigfoot lore and suggest that the idea of a large, mysterious beings has been a part of human culture for centuries.
Giants. Hairy giants.
So I remember we were going to cover that episode too on giants, and man, I tried to dig into that, and I am not at vet status yet to write that episode. There is a lot, but it is so spread out that it was going to be rough to write.
You know why it's so spread out? Odin promised there'd be no frost giants, and look around. I don't see no frost giants. Odin for president.
Odin 2024.
Be the best president, I'd vote.
So this is a pretty big part that we're going to cover next. It is the Patterson-Gimlin footage.
Probably.
Big part of Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah. It's probably one of the most well-known documented cases of Bigfoot ever.
Oh, is this the classic?
I think the footage is faked.
Well, I mean, it's stood the test of time, right? You know, between people trying to disprove it or trying to prove it. It's just kind of hung in limbo for as long as I can remember when it comes to Bigfoot. But yeah, this is the one you're thinking of, David, where it's the Bigfoot walking through like that rock canyon valley.
He's bouncing, dude. He's
Yeah.
like, quit looking at me. I'm leaving.
All right. So in October 1967, Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin set out on a hunt for the elusive Bigfoot. Their trip to the Bluff Creek area in Northern California would yield one of the most famous pieces of evidence in Bigfoot lore, the Patterson-Gimlin film. The footage, which lasts for about 20 seconds, captures what appears to be a large, hairy, bipedal creature walking into a creek. The creature's movements seem to mimic those of a human, with a unique gait described as bent knee locomotion. The film's authenticity has been debated since its release. Some argue that the creature is a man in a costume, while others insist it's genuine footage of a Bigfoot. Skeptics point out inconsistencies in the film, such as the creature's unnatural movements and the lack of convincing audio. However, proponents argue that the film's clarity and the witness testimony of Patterson and Gimlin lend credibility to its authenticity. The footage remains pivotal in the ongoing Bigfoot mystery.
Now, we've all seen it, right? I would assume anybody that's listening to this episode, even people who really haven't researched Bigfoot, it's so popular that I would say the majority of people in the world have seen this footage. I mean, it's that popular. I mean, it's been shown on every channel you can think of on TV almost. Are you guys like a yes or a no when it comes to that footage? I don't know how many times you've seen it to kind of look at it, but how do you feel personally about that footage?
Personally, I think it's a hoax. I mean, I hate to say it, but you know, like we've had a Bigfoot hoax in our lifetime. Remember when they thought they had Bigfoot in a cooler? They shot him and had him in like a big case or something like that, and it turned out to just be a costume.
Yeah. So how do you feel when it comes down to them trying to dissect that gate? That is the big controversial area when it comes to that, is how it walks. They've tried to put people in costumes, and I can't remember exactly how tall they said you would have to be to like mimic that gait, but you would have to be like like 6'8", 6'9".
He could be on painter stilts in a costume.
They've covered stilts, but he's walking across like.
My thing is like what are the odds that it's 1967 and you know, think of the limited technology they have, and they're just going to go out into the mountains and just get a clip of Bigfoot walking around. You know, that seems pretty convenient that they just went out there and found it.
Yeah, that's my opinion on it. I think it's a hoax, but not because of the actual footage, but because of the events leading up to the footage.
Yeah. Well, see, here's the I'm going to play the other side here just because that's how good the Patterson-Gimlin footage is they've actually went over everything to do with walking through that rocky area. It would have to be one of the best professional, people on stilts. I don't know what the proper term would be for a stilt walker.
Stiltist.
Yeah, stiltist.
Stiltist.
Carney. Yeah. But they would have to be extremely good with them because, I mean, he takes like side steps on sides of rocks, and it would be very hard to navigate that terrain on stilts. But then on top of that, when it comes to why they would be there with a camera, I mean, it was really the peak if you think about it. Like nowadays, everybody has a camera nowadays. Nowadays, I find everything online less believable than I would in olden times because they were really into researching stuff like that at that point in time. We were still finding, new species, new things. And so it was actually more prevalent to hunt Bigfoot in that era than it is now. And nowadays, the stuff you see, because everybody has a camera in their pocket when it comes to a cell phone, it's so easy to fake everything. I mean, if we look up Bigfoot now, there's 1,000 videos of people faking it all over YouTube and anything else. Whereas at that point in time, these guys were just, like I said, it was prevalent. You know what I mean? To go hunt Bigfoot. It was more popular in that era.
Right. But you also got to look at the fact that not everybody had a camera in their pockets. Patterson and Gimlin got a camera, I think it's a day or 2 days before, going out with the sole intention of capturing Bigfoot on film, having never seen Bigfoot before. And within days of purchasing that camera, they've got video proof of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Come on.
Like I said, that's
awfully convenient.
That's the fun part about this footage.
So that's why I don't discount the actual footage. I think it's a hoax just from the events leading up to the capture of said footage.
Yeah, like if they were out on a picnic and they were filming themselves kissing in the woods or something, and then all of a sudden, boom, oh God, it's Bigfoot.
And
that would be much more convincing than like if I said, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go film some alien UFO tonight, dude. You want to go with me?
I'm going to go.
You're going to think no, for one, because you're not going to get that footage. And if I came back with a UFO, you're going to be like,
come on,
David.
Dude.
This is clearly Photoshopped.
Yeah.
You can't even try. It's a hubcap GIF.
Yeah. Again, back then they didn't have that type of technology to fake it. So this would literally have to be a very primitive fake, right? It would have to be, like you said, probably one of the best stiltist or carny type, figures in a suit. And it would have to be a really good suit, because I know people have broke down zooming in, and it would have to be a phenomenally well done suit. Yep. Or it is a 6'8", 6'9" man that they found.
Possible.
That is long limbed. But then at the same time, I've heard something about knee placement and elbow placement.
Right.
Where the elbows they're actually bending correctly, but they're too far down for even like a 6'8", 6'9" man to be articulating the elbow and the knees.
Right. But you also got to look at the fact that the perspective filming has been around for a long time. If you set up with the right perspective, you can make something that's 3 feet tall look like it's 9 feet tall.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't necessarily need a 6'9" man to do this.
Yeah. So that's where
if you have the perspective correct, you would need just a regular person.
So that's where we get into like fact or fake. Have you ever seen that TV show?
Nope.
So fact or fake.
Fact or fiction.
Fact or Faked actually went out and tried to recreate the Patterson Gimlin film with the exact same stuff that you're talking about, the correct perspectives, and they were unable to reproduce the same footage.
Well, listen.
With modern technology.
Some people are just better at filming than other people.
Dude, this is, like, these guys are
Look
good.
Look at Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, these guys
He's
are good.
Pretty good.
And they couldn't recreate it. That's why I said, I think it's a very good shot when it comes to Bigfoot, right? Because of the fact that this is what makes it great, is the fact that we could debate all day and you're gonna ride that middle line. And that's why it stood the test of time, and why it's such a big piece of Bigfoot lore, is because of the fact that for everything I say to prove it, you guys can say something to disprove it. Then somebody comes along and researches the stuff that you believe disproves it. And then it just goes right back to the middle line again, to just riding that middle ground, which is fantastic. I think that's a good segue right into looking at some of the scientific breakdowns.
Over the years, various experts have analyzed the Patterson-Gimlin footage. Some notable analyses include Dr. Jeff Meldrum's analysis. Dr. Jeff Meldrum, a professor of anatomy and anthropology, has conducted extensive studies on the Patterson-Gimlin footage. Meldrum has praised the film for its detailed depiction of the creature's gait and musculature, which he argues would be difficult to replicate with a costume from the 1960s. Meldrum's work includes a detailed analysis of the footprints and movement patterns shown in the film, which he believes support the idea of an unknown species.
So, there it is, man. There's an actual doctor looking into the muscular features during the gait, which are really good, man. If you watch some of the zoomed in footage that they've done, you can see like a muscle flex when it comes around the knees and the elbows. And again, they're so low, or they're so different to what a human's elbow and knees would, be like, that it really helps support the video.
Yeah, as long as you convince one guy with a PhD that you're right. That's all you got to do.
I mean, you're going to tell me they didn't have the technology for good costumes back then?
Like I said,
Listen, Jim Henson.
I'm not an expert, right? I'm not an expert, but I love this film so much because the fact that it seems like if you put 30 people with a PhD in there, you're going to get 15 and 15. It's such a perfect split when it comes to research done on this film. And that's what makes it interesting.
All right. So, the other side, let's look at this. Bill Holling, a filmmaker and investigator, has offered a critical analysis of the footage, suggesting that the creature's movements and body proportions are consistent with a human in a costume. Holling's analysis includes a breakdown of the film's technical aspects, which he believes indicate a hoax. Holling's critiques focus on the creature's arm length and gait, which he argues are not consistent with known primates.
Fantastic.
I think this filmmaker sounds a little better than this doctor.
Yeah. I just give PhDs to anybody these days, or those days. Also, doctors back then, this is the same era where doctors told you to go smoke cigarettes because they're good for you.
Like I said, I think that's what makes it great. Like, I don't want to tell anybody out there to believe or not believe, but I think it's fantastic when you do come to a case where there's something that's kind of stood the test of time, right? Like, because nowadays we're so advanced that you can make a video and in 5 minutes they can disprove it, right? Again, if you guys have never seen Fact or Fake, they did a wonderful episode on like a UFO in the sky, right? And I think it was in California as well. This video had been out there for like 2 or 3 years of these people shooting a UFO from their back porch, and it overlooked kind of like a valley in California.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right? Well, the team went out there, and within like 2 days, they were able to make like a small circular, cylindrical metallic object, and they were able to like actually place it at an appropriate level and float it out in front of them and reproduce the exact movements of the UFO. And so they were able to disprove it like very quickly. And so I think it's good to see something like the Patterson-Gimlin film withstand the test of time with the modern technology we have to break something down so quick.
You also got to understand that there's some technologies that we don't have anymore.
Oh, yeah, it's very
back
true.
Then. What is it? I forget the exact name of it. Disney used it with Mary Poppins. I think it was yellow light photography or something like that, where they used like some special type of lamp that we don't have anymore, and nobody knows how to make a new one.
Yeah, it's very true.
So,
that comes down to even like concrete, right? The Romans were using concrete in ways we can't produce nowadays. They were able to make waterproof concrete.
Yeah, and they have their own special napalm too.
Yeah, and it hardened over time, right? And that's the thing that we have struggles trying to reproduce now. But
they use self-healing is what they call it, self-healing concrete.
Yeah, it was like over time, they could submerge it underwater, and instead of getting softer, it would actually harden over time. But they used like ashes from Pompeii and stuff in the concrete. But no, that's 100% true. There's a ton of stuff that we've done over the era of human beings that we just don't have access to anymore because we use modern technology. So why would we even look into reproducing certain things that were done before? So, that makes sense. It could absolutely just be something in some type of filming that we just don't do anymore.
Yeah, it's lost to time.
But like I said, it has to be covered. It's fantastic. I love the Patterson-Gimlin film.
While we're on the topic of hoaxes, Bigfoot hoaxes have plagued the field of cryptozoology since the inception of the legend. Some notable hoaxes include the Ray Wallace footprint hoax. In the 1950s, construction worker Ray Wallace created large wooden footprints to hoax the discovery of Bigfoot. The family revealed this decades later, leading to the discrediting of many footprint findings at the time. Wallace's hoax involved creating fake footprints and placing them strategically to mislead researchers.
That's hilarious.
It is.
You can't trust a Wallace.
That's why I said, I have to try to keep it on a balance, right? Like, I'm a Bigfoot fan, but I had to include all the hoaxes I could find for you guys because I want it to be a pretty straight line episode.
I'm gonna go dedicate my life to finding ways to just slow down Bigfoot people.
That's pretty much what he did, man.
Stuff.
That's pretty much what he did. He made fake footprints.
I'm gonna protect Bigfoot. by slowing everybody else down.
Just imagine the feeling, though. They're out there filling those holes with plaster and putting them in museums, and you just sit there watching it on the couch.
Yeah, I made that in my backyard.
Just giggling to yourself. Just
Yep.
This was trolls before the internet had trolls.
It pretty much was. The more I read on Ray, that's pretty much what he did. He would go out into the wilderness and just be like, footprint, footprint, and then just drive further down the road like footprint, footprint.
Did you hear about the guy that had like his community thinking there was like a 15-foot tall penguin or something?
No.
Because he had these big stone fucking lead penguin fucking feet, and he'd go walk around the beach in the middle of the night.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
So next up, we've got the Minnesota Iceman. In 1968, a supposed Bigfoot corpse was displayed in the U.S. It was later revealed to be a latex model, sparking controversy and skepticism within the cryptozoological community. The Minnesota Iceman continues to be a controversial exhibit at the Museum of the Weird in Austin, Texas, where it is still displayed as a curiosity. Listen, we've got bones of dinosaurs from millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of years ago, and not one Bigfoot corpse?
Not a single big feet.
Not a single Bigfoot bone.
No Bigfoots.
No big toe.
I think that's actually the Bigfoot you were mentioning, David. The one that was...
No, this happened recently, like in my lifetime. The one I was talking about.
Okay, I thought when you were talking about it, so I'll have to look that one up. But I thought when you were talking about it, this is what it is, because they've went over this one again recently.
This one right here.
Okay, yep. That's it then.
Well, then let's continue and get to the...
Well, let's get to the one that David mentioned. That sounds good.
This one right here. It's not the next one, but let's go into the Bluff Creek head hoax. In 2008, a man claimed to have discovered a Bigfoot skull in Bluff Creek, California. However, the skull was later proven to be a rubber replica, further eroding trust in Bigfoot evidence. The hoax involved a realistic-looking fake skull designed to deceive the public. So, the Minnesota Iceman, that's fake. Latex. Bluff Creek head hoax, that's fake. That's rubber. Get on the next one. The Bigfoot body hoax. In 2012, Tom Biscardi and Rick Dyer claimed to have captured a live Bigfoot. The creature was later revealed to be a hoax, leading to legal action against the perpetrators. Tom Biscardi, a prominent Bigfoot enthusiast, has been involved in multiple hoaxes. In 2005, he claimed to have access to a captured Bigfoot, only to later admit it was a false claim. Similarly, in 2008, Rick Dyer and Matthew Whitten presented a video of a purported Bigfoot body, which was later exposed as a hoax with fake components. In 2014, Rick Dyer attempted another Bigfoot hoax by claiming to have killed a Sasquatch. Despite promising scientific tests and a public reveal, he failed to provide any verifiable evidence, later admitting that the body was a latex prop.
So that's the one that you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, there's a ton of them over the years, man.
Very little evidence.
I would actually flip that. There's probably 1,000 reported sightings yearly by people from all the way from lawyers to doctors to police officers to United States military.
Sorry. You guys remember that show Weeds?
I do. It was a good movie or a good show. Good show.
You hacked my brain when you said doctors and lawyers.
Sorry.
Doctors and lawyers
and business executives.
That they all live in little boxes or whatever.
They're all made out of ticky tacky.
They're all made, or they all
probably
look just the same or whatever. Yeah. But no, I would honestly say it's probably actually vice versa. I have to dig through to find actual proven hoaxes because the majority of stuff when I go look at Bigfoot is more towards people just giving sightings. So I wouldn't say there's a ton of evidence, but there are, I would say there's 30 or 40 sightings a year, I'd say. At least from what I looked at. I was trying to kind of keep count, but there are a lot of sightings. And they're from so many different spectrums, like I said. You'll have guys from the military. You'll have a doctor, a lawyer,
A business executive.
No,
A business executive.
what I was saying is there's much more proven hoaxes than there is proven evidence of Bigfoot.
Well, of course, if we had proven evidence, it would be solved.
Yeah.
It would just be solved. But what I mean is you can't discredit all the people who have cited it yet until you can actually disprove it. You know, we can hoax things all day long, but even the people hoaxing can't disprove it. But that's what makes it fun.
Schrodinger's Bigfoot.
Yeah, basically, Schrodinger's Bigfoot.
It both exists and doesn't exist.
It's pretty much going to be like that for everything we cover on this episode, minus all the true crime stuff.
We got true crime stuff in this episode?
No, not in this episode. I just mean,
We're not getting
in this show.
we're not getting into the extended versions of Bigfoot, so there's not going to be like a Bigfoot X, kind of like Jason X, Bigfoot from space. We're not covering that today.
Bigfoot
not
with
Bigfoot
laser
from
aims?
space, but Bigfoot from
Cyborg
space is a
robot
thing,
Bigfoot,
and I can't
dude.
wait. I can't wait. Yeah, there are some really good Bigfoot from space stories, man. Time walking Bigfoot, you know, interdimensional Bigfoot.
I seen Bigfoot once, but he was wearing a 3-piece suit.
Oh yeah. No, I can't wait to get to it. There's another story I cannot wait to get to of the lady who claims to live beside like a family of big feet.
A whole family of Bigfoots?
Yeah, dude.
Would
And,
it would be Bigfoots.
and they just talk to her and
Or would it be
associate
Big
with her,
Feet?
but they'll just never come out and talk to anybody why she's home. You know what I mean?
Hi, Martha. How you doing today?
I mean, she claims to like feed them and give them things and everything. So I can't wait to cover some of those, man. It's going to be a good time.
Wow. Now that we're done with quote-unquote hoaxes, let's get into quote-unquote sightings and well-documented encounters. The mystery surrounding Bigfoot has led to numerous sightings and encounters throughout history. One of the most notable events is the attack on Ape Canyon. On a warm July day in 1924, 5 miners working in the hillsides of Mount St. Helens stumbled upon something otherworldly. An encounter with creatures that defied logic or reason. A chance encounter with tall, human-like ape men that stalked the miners. Communicating with chest thumps and an eerie whistling, the ape men had been observing the men for a few days without their knowledge. Only when one of the men spotted one of the creatures and fired a shot did they make themselves be seen. The incident on Ape Canyon was one of the earliest, best documented Sasquatch encounters in modern history. Fred Beck was one of the 5 miners that hiked up the mountain on that warm July day. According to him, the day started off like any other prospecting day. The men were up at the crack of dawn and usually worked until the sun began to set. On this particular day, one of the men came across a set of odd footprints on a sandbar that at first looked human, but as he got closer, found that they measured 19 inches in length and were anything but human. Perturbed by the finding, Hank ran back to the camp to inform the others of what he had come across. He told them that he found the tracks on the sandbar in the middle of a small river that the men had used to wash their belongings and get drinking water from. The men followed Hank back to the river and found the tracks still there. They described the tracks as being 19 inches long, 4 inches deep in the sand. However, upon inspection of the area, the men noticed that those were the only 2 footprints in the sand, and they were in the middle of the sandbar, as if whatever had made those prints had taken a huge 160-foot step onto the middle of the bank. Hank stated, "No human being could have made these tracks, and there's only one way that they could be made up. Something dropped from the sky and went back up." The men were under the impression that whatever large creature had made the prints, it seemed to have appeared and disappeared into thin air. According to Fred, what really put the men on edge were the sounds they began to hear in the woods days after their discovery. Loud thumping sounds that echoed through the forest as if someone or something was beating its chest. These sounds were followed by a loud, shrilling whistling noise that made the experienced miners shake in their boots. They described the whistling as being all around them, coming from one ridge, not too far away, only to be answered by another whistle from a different ridge. An obvious two-way communication that the men had become privy to. Too frightened to go alone, Hank had asked Fred to accompany him to a nearby spring to refill their canteens. As the men approached the spring, Hank yelled out and pointed his rifle into the distant trees. That's when Fred saw a tall, hairy creature by some trees. It stood next to a pine tree about 100 yards from them, on the opposite side of a small canyon. According to the men, the creature quickly dodged behind the pine tree, poking its head out from the side of the tree from time to time. Hank shot at it, and Fred could see bark flying off the tree as the bullet had almost hit the creature. Standing to be about 7 feet in height and covered in blackish brown hair, the creature jumped from behind the pine tree and ran down the canyon. It ran upright and at incredible speed, only to disappear out of the men's view within seconds. Fred had also shot at it, but was unable to see whether he hit the creature or not.
Not a smart idea, in my opinion, but this is actually a perfect time for me to tell you a story that I've been told my entire life by my father, okay? So my dad claims to have seen Bigfoot, all right? Well, at least a creature standing beside a tree, but I always found it fascinating to hear this story, and it's one of the reasons that I actually am as intrigued as I am by Bigfoot, is because I grew up hearing him tell me this story. So he was raised in Germantown, Ohio, which at one point in time was mostly covered in some pretty dense forestry, right? So behind his mother's house was a pretty good stretch of acres of forest. And when he was a kid, he wanted to go camping. And just like any kid, man, where's the easiest place to camp? You just go out back of your parents' house and you camp out there. So that's what him and a buddy did. They went out back of his mom's house. And if I can try to build an image for you, as you walk out the back door, the backyard kind of goes at a slant, right? Not a very steep incline, but, it just gradually goes downhill really easy. And then it comes to almost like a divot in the ground that runs all the way across this area. And then it heads back uphill. So it was kind of dug out to keep the water running along the bottom of the hill and not flooding up to the houses. But then it stretches straight uphill, and it's a pretty steep incline on the other side. They went out there, and towards the back of the porch, they set up their tents. And they set up a tent, they put out a fire, and my dad said that when the sun finally went down and it was pitch black outside, is when they decided they wanted to cook something, right? So they were cooking on the fire, and my dad said that him and his buddy both at the same time heard like a loud snap. And so they were just staring up into the hills, waiting to see what was up there. My dad was like thinking at first it could have been like a deer or anything reasonable for Ohio. And he said they sat there for forever waiting to see if any other noise happened. And again, another loud pop. And so my dad finally took a flashlight and shined it up there. And my dad said that beside one of the trees, they could see kind of like a figure standing beside the tree, which my dad thought was a person. So they both were yelling. Yeah, okay. So
it was a pervert.
So, okay. Well, let me finish. The pervert then would have been about 7'4", 7'5". Okay, because the tree that they watched him beside, they shot at. So my dad, now they didn't have a 22 or anything. They only had a pellet gun. But my dad said they both had one, and they took turns just shooting at it before whatever it was turned and ran at a speed of which he said just seemed impossible for a human being, because it was going straight uphill and it just sprinted up the hill. And some of the trees that snapped off, like the branches off the trees, were entirely too big for a human to be running at that speed and run through that branch. Because he went up there the next day and actually measured beside the tree where they were shooting at, and he said it came to about 7'3" where they were shooting at its head. So if it's a pervert, it was a 7'3" pervert. And he was on the hill.
It was a human pervert. It might have been a Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch?
Sam Squanch.
I love Sam Squanch.
There's a Sam Squanch up there.
So, but yeah, I just always found it fascinating, right? Because he's also not a firm believer. He's not like my dad was never the type to be like, it was 100% a Bigfoot. You know what I mean? He was always just like, I saw this, and we always debated, could it be a Bigfoot? But at the same time, we were always like, just what the fuck was it? Was it a man? If it was the biggest man I've ever seen. Or was it something otherworldly? Because he was like, it ran at an incredible speed. And if I took you out there now and told you to run up that hill, we could take a fucking D1 athlete out there, and they're not moving at the speeds of which he explained. Like it is pretty steep incline up that hill back there. And it's dense. You know what I mean? So you would have to have been, incredibly strong to run through the branches that this thing ran through while snapping them and keeping that speed. But he said it never moved. They shot multiple pellets at it, hit the tree, and he said that it just never moved. It stood there watching for a second, and he said after they popped off 5 or 6 shots apiece at it, that it just turned and just snap, 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 just took off running up the hill. So, and he said that they were so freaked out that they just grabbed their pellet guns and went right in the fucking house. He said they didn't stay. He was like, we did not stay out there. He was like, when it ran, we just turned around and booked it back in the house. And he was like, and then they sat at the window just kind of staring out at the hillside because he stayed upstairs in our house. So his back window could look at the hillside. And he was like, they just sat up there shining a flashlight and just watching the hillside for hours like any normal person would, just fascinated on what it could be. So, but then they went out the next day and measured, and he was like, it would have had to have been where they were shooting at its head would have had to have been about 7'4". I just find that interesting, and I also find it really stupid, and that's why the shooting at it makes sense to me. If you've seen something that you thought was over 7 foot tall watching you, I don't think I'd shoot at it. I think I'd just leave.
You shoot at it. Do the American thing, and you shoot at it.
That's the American thing.
Yeah, but you don't use
put it down and put it in the truck.
You don't use a pellet gun or a 22. Like we've already gone over that. You use a 50 cal.
Well, I mean, my dad just wasn't sitting out there with this, fucking 50 caliber rifle.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Mom, we're camping. What are you taking the fucking 50 cal out for?
40 millimeter grenade launcher, dude.
Yeah.
Fucking
look at Bigfoot. Thump, thump, thump.
If you see something in the woods, think it's dangerous, don't be shooting at it with no pellet gun or 22. It's just going to piss it off.
No, I tell you, I'm white as fuck. I would have ran up the hill. I would have tried to get a better look.
You'd have died.
I 100% would die. In these situations, I've very much admitted I would die, but curiosity killed the cat, and I am the cat in this instance. Because if I looked up a hill and we were all sitting out back camping.
You just hear that, David? Daniel said he's a cat boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's a furry.
I'm a furry confirmed, dude.
Furry confirmed.
I would 100% run up the hill. You guys wouldn't be in the slightest bit curious.
Oh, I'm not running up. I'm going to run up a hill for a fucking box of golden coins, dude.
I'm not,
I'm an old man.
Are they real golden coins?
Uphill?
I mean, how much
you
money
would
are we
uphill?
talking?
Well, okay, well, then we'll put it this way. Would you try to move yourself to a better vantage point to see it if it meant going closer to it?
If I was
or
with
would
somebody,
you retreat?
If I was with somebody that wanted to go look, that I was certain I could outrun, I would go.
So you would go with me?
I would go, but I can't promise you I would.
I'm fine with that.
You would be mauled, and you would see my heels kicking in the fucking path
as long
we came.
As long as you give me the movie moment where I go, tell them what we've seen.
I'd already be gone, dude. Like,
can't hear you.
I'll stop and sacrifice
I'll be
myself.
out of earshot by the time we find anything.
I'll stop and sacrifice myself. Just carry the word of what we've seen.
Well, you better say all the things that need to be said before we get up to whatever it is that is.
There ain't none that needs to be said. If you see it and I see it and I look back at you and I see you ready to run, you just need to know.
You're going to look back at me. I'm already going to be running.
I'll tell your story.
Oh, I'll tell. Yeah, for sure.
Daniel got lost in the woods, saw something, and I turned around.
Fucking Sam Squanch just mauled him to death up there, dude.
Sam Squanches are dangerous, dude. It's going to be our next t-shirt, man. Get you a Sam Squanch down by the creek.
I like the one from earlier.
Sasket?
You do like the Sasket?
Yeah, dude.
The word Sasket.
I'm begging Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch and a Sasket.
She's cute, dude. Put some lipstick on her.
It's cute old Sam Squanch, dude.
Are you talking about the Mishi Peshu?
Mm-hmm. Mishi Peshu is a cool word for it, too. There's a lot of cool words for Bigfoot.
Well, that's not a word for Bigfoot. That's for something else that may be confused with Bigfoot, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. It's like it's what stemmed.
Well, speaking of you getting mauled by a Sasquatch.
Yeah, we're still talking about the miners here.
We're still talking about Hank and Fred.
Yeah, I just thought it was a good correlation that they shot at it. And I was always told that story of them shooting at something.
Just be lucky that your dad didn't get attacked, like I assume Hank and Fred are about to be. So their camp included a few small tents and a pine log cabin that had been built by the miners just a few months earlier. It wasn't much, but the cabin offered the men shelter from the elements, and to some degree, shelter from the unsettling things that had befallen onto their expedition. The evening of the encounter with the humanoid creature, the men sat around their fire, smoking their pipes and discussing their plan to leave in the morning. The night grew cold, and so did the darkness. They decided to turn in and get some much-needed rest. Not long after had they been fast asleep. Loud, wall-shaking thud made them jump up to their feet. Something had hit the side of the cabinet hard enough to knock loose the chinking in between the logs, allowing them a good peek outside their cabin, where they heard footsteps and unfamiliar grunting noises. Through the holes, Hank managed to catch a glimpse of what was making those horrific sounds. He only managed to see 3 of them. However, given the noise and commotion, the men believed that there were more than 3 ape-men-type creatures outside their cabin. Boom! Another rock hit the wall. Boom, boom, a few more. Hank then pointed his rifle through the opening in between the logs of the cabin and shot out into the darkness. The creatures fell silent. The footsteps stopped, as did the rock throwing. Another shot rings out, only to be answered by more silence. This was only temporary, as another rock hit the roof of the cabin with tremendous force. It was then that Fred said to the group that it would be a good idea to shoot only when the creatures attacked, so that they would realize that the men were only shooting to defend themselves, and they would stop if the attack stopped. It worked for a few minutes, but then the attack continued. There was a heavy thud on the roof, as if one of the creatures managed to climb up there. Hank shot his .30-30 Winchester, and the bullet went through the roof. They then heard the creature jump off and come around the front of the cabin to be joined by the others. That's when the front door began to rattle. They were trying to break in. The men pushed back, jamming the door with a long pole from one of the bunk beds. The creatures pounded on the door so hard that the men thought they would break through it in no time. Hank shot at the door, and the pushing and pounding stopped. Quiet and stillness once again fell upon the cabin. The men made sure that the door was properly jammed before moving away from it. It was then that they saw a long, hairy arm reach through one of the holes in the wall and grab the handle of a nearby axe. Fred quickly grabbed the axe head and turned it upright, so that it would get caught between the logs. Hank then shot into the hole, and the creature dropped the axe and pulled its arm back. It was one of the most frightening experiences that night, the men would later recall. The attacks against the cabin continued through the night, not to the same degree, but by the early hours of the morning the attacks had dwindled down to rocks being thrown, followed by a few whistles here and there. By the time the sun began to shine over the mountain peaks, the attacks and noises outside had ceased completely. The men waited inside for full daylight, and once they felt safe enough, began poking their heads outside. They looked around and saw small rocks strewn all around the cabin, and signs of activity, like footprints, but no signs of the creatures themselves. Until moments later, Fred looked up by the bordering ridge and saw one of the creatures. It was standing there, about 80 yards away, looking down at the men. Fred raised his Winchester once more, took his time to aim, and shot 3 times, hitting the creature several times, and they all watched it topple over the cliff, down into the gorge, hundreds of feet below.
Wait. Bro, I'd be freaked out.
Yeah, you would be freaked out.
Fuck yeah, I would be, man.
You also
Fred
probably
was
would have.
scared.
We probably would have had to tie you down so you couldn't open the door and let them in because you wanted to get out and see a look at them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have tried to go outside, but I definitely would have been at the hole when its arm came in.
You'll poke your eye out.
Or I would have took the arm. It was grabbing an axe, dude. I would have
And you would have took the arm of a primate.
tried to.
He would have grabbed hold on you and pulled you out through that hole.
He wouldn't even feel you, dude. Have you seen the strength of a monkey?
No, what I'm saying is, like, if you had anything in there to hit it, like it stuck its arm in through a log like this. Might
Yeah,
not be a
it certainly
primate,
have
but if
something.
you had something
I'm
in there,
just
like another
saying,
axe or anything,
If you got
Pull his
close
hair.
enough, he would have taken you, grabbed you, and pulled you out through that hole.
that man reached over and grabbed the axe it was holding on to and
Yeah,
turned
but
it.
that
That's
was
close enough.
that was
I'm
a man. That was a minor. They got minor strength.
Oh, okay.
Me or you do that, it's pulling our fat asses through a tiny little hole.
Okay. Well, I don't plan on
You
getting
ever
close.
seen
I'm
aluminum
just saying,
extrusion?
if I grab another axe or anything I could, I would try to swiftly take that fucking thing off at the arm.
Why was no one holding the axe to begin with if they were under siege?
They probably had multiple
they had
axes
guns.
up against the walls and stuff.
Yeah, and they had guns.
Where are
Most
you going
of
to
the men
store
were
your axe? In
armed.
the middle of a room where you can
I'm
step
going to
on
hold
it?
my axe in a baseball bat position, and I'm going to sink it right into the forehead of the first monkey that comes walking into my cabin.
You don't want to swing an axe like a baseball bat.
I will.
That's wrong technique.
No.
You're going to lose a lot of power.
They have a bunch of pictures of the guys. They were not very big fellas. I would wager to bet you might be able to pick one up and slam them. They were pretty fucking small. At least a few of them that are in the picture.
Right.
They were short.
Yeah, but they got that
scrawny.
minor strength.
Yeah.
They've been beating on rocks all day.
I don't know if I'd necessarily call that strength as much as just what you had to do to survive back then, but they were little fellas.
You go fucking challenge a fucking coal miner to some.
Yeah, I think you might be underestimating
To
the
that-
strength of a coal miner.
To that freaking carnival game where you hit the hammer on the block and it rings the bell.
Oh, I'm not saying they're weak, but I think you guys are overestimating the fact that there can be many fucking weak men doing
You're
a
right.
manly
I
job.
did picture that, like that one dude on YouTube that like demos axes and shit. Like that dude's
Yeah.
jacked. and
That's what I'm
tall.
saying. Yeah. No, that dude would fucking piece me up, dude. But I mean, some of these guys look like fucking 60-year-old little scrawny grandpas, man, in the fucking pictures out there.
Well, now I can't stop thinking about Zoolander. You remember when he goes to work in the mines? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't remember.
I
that
know
movie.
what you're
I've seen
talking about,
Zoolander, but I don't remember it.
Where he's like a male model and he's like all walking through the mines. All these guys are throwing away these big, huge rocks and they're all sweating. And then he comes up with like a little tiny rock and he's like, and throws it away.
But I mean, that's how it is. I'm just saying, like, I would try to attack back probably and then look out. Or I might just shoot. I don't know.
I'm glad his ass on fire. Take that, fuzzy boy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that'd probably be the best way.
I'd be fucking freaking out, I tell
If
you that much.
if you're being attacked by a Sasquatch, I bet you fire
Yeah, do you stick your
Would be
hairy
a
arm in my
great
fucking
way
door, dude? I will
Get him
fucking
to
toast
get him to
you.
back off. So when we go camping for Sasquatch, I'm going to buy a Tesla flamethrower.
Flamethrower, dude?
Yeah.
That might do it, bro. All I know is, like, have you guys ever heard the fucking Wild Man video? I don't know if I've ever sent it to you guys. So there's a very popular video out there of the guys that went to camp in their fucking cabin. And I think they were out there hunting. And while they're in the fucking cabin, you can literally hear, like, what they believe to be, like, feral human beings out in the woods. And they're out there, like, fucking, fucking, just fucking. I mean, they pretty are. They're making weird fucking guttural noises and fucking screeches and shit. And you can hear them, like, approach the cabin. And the guy tries to talk to him. He's like, please just leave us alone. And you can hear it out there like, they're communicating on some level, but he doesn't understand it. But you can literally hear, 15 or 20 of them. And it's a fantastic fucking audio. Like, because that's all it is audio. They went back out with cameras, I think, afterwards. But this is a good case for you guys that we'll cover. But they were trying to wonder if it was feral human beings or like some type of Bigfoot. But it's a good case we'll cover at some point in time because you guys said, oh, why would you go out there with the camera? Well, these guys were literally not out there to do anything other than hunt. They just happened to have like an audio recorder that they were using for fun during their, during their hunting trips and talking to each other and stuff and having fun. And they hit play on it. But they were all pretty much just stuck in their fucking cabin. And it was just kind of being flanked around and none really attacked them, but it was just outside. But I think that's like,
if we ever go camping to find Bigfoot, I'm going to need two things. Something that, not a whip because I don't know how to use a whip, but something that'll make the sound that a whip makes. Very, very loud.
I'll do it for you.
And that whistle that you tie the rope onto it and you swing it around, it makes like 4 whistles with like a siren, but it's like 180 decibels, super loud, and you can hear for miles. I want that.
You want that? Like, try to fend them off?
Right. Number one, that's going to scare them off. And number two, if somebody hears that, somebody else going to be like, what the fuck is that whistling sound?
But it's just that thought. I don't know that's probably where, see, like if I'm backed up to a house, I might run and take a peek to try to see what it is. But you put me hundreds of miles out in the woods in a cabin and now it's surrounded in pitch black dark, and you're out in the woods. There's no street lights. There's no other way of artificial light. And you're just stuck inside of a cabin and there's things all around. That shit fucking terrifies me.
What you do is you dig a circle around and you like fill it with oil, and then you put remote charges around.
So you can just light that motherfucker
So then you
up,
just light
dude.
that circle on fire. And then the only problem with that is if they step over that line, now they're trapped in there.
They're trapped
with you.
in there with you. Yeah, and they're going to want to get to the focal point, the middle of the fucking circle, which is where you're at now. Yeah, so now
but
you're
then
fucked.
it's probably only one of them.
Now they want in. We just need to take somebody we don't like. That way, if they surround us, we just need to know we're going to push them out the front of the cabin door. And maybe if they get one sacrificial person, they'll leave us alone.
Are we going to push them out the door, or are we going to like snip the Achilles tendon and push them out, or shoot them in the knee? Push them out the door.
You got to maim them a little bit.
No, because I want to not go to jail if it's fake. So I would probably just fucking be like, listen, you need to go out there and see what that is. And if they're like, no, is when, I'm just going to bear hug them and carry them towards the front door. And then you guys just need to be ready to do the whole open. And I'm just going to toss them into the darkness. And then we're going to close the door. We're going to pretend to care when they're out front and be like, are you okay? And then you'll just hear them getting ripped apart. And you're like,
I don't want you
what
to
does
say,
it look like?
I don't want you to say any names. I just want you to acknowledge that you know the
I know
one
exactly
person.
who you're talking about before
All right.
you finish the sentence.
All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Just
that'll
as we're
work.
on the same page.
That'll 100%
That'll
work.
100% work.
Yeah.
All right. Moving
Why
on.
would you do that to me?
It's not you.
It's not you.
It's not you.
It's not you.
Before he finished his sentence, I knew exactly who he was talking about.
I think I know who he's talking about.
You
Yeah.
might, but I don't know.
Yeah, but we will take them, and then we will throw them into the darkness.
Actually, I don't know if I could even take a trip with them. Anyway,
100%.
Bigfoot better be out there if we go with him, dude.
let's get back to the rest of that story. So, escaping Ape Canyon. So, once the men had seen the creature fall off the cliff, they decided to make a run for it, leaving their equipment and belongings behind. They took what they had in their hands and on their backs and made a speedy trek back to Hanks Ford, which had been parked miles away from the camp and Ape Canyon. The men eventually made it back home to Kelso, Washington, where they were able to tell their friends and families about their horrific ordeal in the mountains. The attack left the men shaking and confused as to what they had come across. What were those creatures? Had they managed to actually kill one of them? The men made it out of the Washington mountains and escaped the so-called mountain devils. However, as with many other cases of unexplained, they soon found themselves under scrutiny of the press and public. Reporters from Portland, Oregon and Seattle, Washington soon paid the men a visit, wanting to know every last bit of detailed information they had about the supposed attack by great hairy apes. As the weeks passed and the reports spread, Fred found himself going back to the mountains in search of evidence. He took with him 2 reporters and a detective from Portland. Retracing the steps he and the others had taken, Fred managed to find the creature's tracks near their campsite. Much to the reporters' delight, they managed to photograph the tracks to add credence to the men's story. He was, however, unable to find any remnants of the creature that he had shot and witnessed fall over the edge of a cliff. There was no body or traces of anything having fallen over and into the gorge several hundred feet below. In fact, the massive footprints they photographed was the only solid evidence they managed to obtain from their expedition back into Ape Canyon. It was the miners' word against the skeptics. Would they go through all the hassle of ridicule and attention and report this incredible tale? It wasn't for fame or attention. The men simply wanted to get off their chests the harrowing events that took place that July evening in 1924. The details of the men and the photographs of some big feet is all the evidence that came from the encounter. There was no body recovered, even though the men had claimed to have shot it and watched it topple over the cliff. According to Fred Beck, there's a reason as to why that is, a metaphysical reason. Fred Beck wrote a book about the incident about 43 years after, in 1967. He released his book titled, I Fought the Ape Men of Mount St. Helens, Washington. A not-so-catchy name for the 5-chapter-long book that goes a little beyond the Sasquatch encounter. However, it's in this book that we learn a little bit more about Fred Beck and his claims of clairvoyance and special abilities that led him and others to Ape Canyon. In his book, Fred Beck claims that since he was a young boy, he had the ability to see spirits and have premonitions. He goes on to say that 2 years before the Ape Canyon incident, They had found a mine with the help of a spiritual being. A large Native American figure, dressed in buckskin, appeared to the men and told them that if they followed a large white arrow, it would lead the men to the mine. Fred claims that he and other members of the mining party could see the actual image of an arrow floating in free space, pointing the way to the location of the mine.
We all saw the arrow soar up high, change direction, and swoop down. We had to follow in the general direction before we could find it again. It hovered near the top of the north cliff of Ape Canyon. That was the site where we later blasted out our shaft. We got a little closer, and we all saw the image of a large door open, and the big Indian appeared in front of it. He spoke. There was a site where we later blasted out our shaft. We got a little closer, and we all saw the image of a large door open, and the big Indian appeared in front of it. He spoke. Because you have cursed the spirit leading you, you will be shown where there is gold, but it is not given to you. With those words, he disappeared. Then we saw the door slowly close. There was a huge lock and latch, but as the door shut, the lock did not latch. A closed door, but it was not locked. We'd just as well pack up and go home, one of the party said. And that is just the way our gold mine turned out. Closed, but not locked. We worked that mine for 2 years, and one assay showed well over $2,000 a ton, but as it turned out, what we actually had done was to cut the leaders. There is a pocket of gold in that cliff if someone is fortunate enough to find it. We gave up looking for it.
He goes on to say that the whistling and chest-thumping sounds they reported hearing had been plaguing them for a week or so before the encounter. That the noises were always following them, but were subtle, not as loud as they were once the attack began. Fred's reasoning behind this is that the creatures were not fully there. In other words, they hadn't fully manifested, therefore they sounded muffled. He and the others believed that the strange footprints they found in the sandbar had an otherworldly explanation. The creature that made those prints manifested out of thin air. Of course, this wasn't something that the men told the media or anyone else about, since it would only add to the already incredulous story they had. Fred continues.
The abominable snowmen are from a lower plane. When the condition and vibration is at a certain frequency, they can easily, for a time, appear in a very solid body. They are not spirit animals, but also lack the intelligence of human consciousness. When reading of evolution, we have read many times conjecture about the missing link between man and anthropoid ape. The snowmen are a missing link in the consciousness, neither animal nor human. They are very close to our dimension and yet are part of one lower. Could they be the missing link man has been searching for so long? The human soul once dwelled in a spiritual body and eventually incarnated at the fall of man into bodies like we have now. The beings we call abominable snowmen were not of the necessary high development to incarnate in human form. They had not reached that scale of spiritual evolution. They are the easiest beings materialized as evidenced by the many reports of their appearances to more people in recent years. In fact, if the vibratory influence right for them is present, they can manifest without any human being present at all. This accounts for the many tracks being seen along the mountain ranges of the West Coast and Canada.
This is what Fred Beck believed kept the Sasquatch or Bigfoot creatures hidden or avoiding capture. Their ability to manifest into our world or dimension via vibrational frequencies of the spirit. The incident at Ape Canyon occurred in July of 1924. However, the story of the Native American spirit, arrow, or interdimensional Sasquatch creatures did not surface publicly until decades after their encounter. Not until he was 78 years old and had nothing to lose from it. It was something that Fred Beck wanted to keep to himself on the count that it might sound more ridiculous than the Ape Men story. But as the decades passed, and the original members of the group also passed, Fred felt the need to confess his true experience up in Ape Canyon. Beck felt that in order to understand these creatures, and what happened to the men up on Mount St. Helens, that the truth must be told, no matter how crazy it sounded. Many officials stated it had all been a hoax perpetrated by the prospectors themselves, either to keep people away from their mining sites, or to make a little extra money selling it to the tabloids. The official investigation into the incident yielded no evidence of the 8 men or a body. Besides the tracks that were photographed, nothing tangible was recovered. The game warden investigating the case labeled it nothing more than a clever hoax. Up to their deathbeds, the 5 men stuck to their story about their encounter in the mountains, never wavering from the details and description of the alleged creatures that tormented them that July evening. Fred Beck had always claimed to have a special gift, an ability to tune into other dimensions and higher states of consciousness. This is how, according to him, we were able to communicate with the higher spirits and the creatures we call Bigfoot. Man, I felt like that was a good and compelling story until I learned about the clairvoyance and spiritual connection.
So to be clear, all the men died that were with Fred. Then Fred added this. A lot of people that actually look into this case just totally discredit Fred, but believe the other men. Because the other men never wavered from the fact that things were just reaching in the cabin, right? Rocks were being thrown. There was none of the other men ever backed up we followed a fucking arrow to our mine. None of that shit. He waited till they all died off and then added it. And a lot of people believe that he was just old and had nobody and wanted to kind of rekindle
the attention.
Exactly. And so he was like, how can I do this? And that's where he came up with, I'm just going to rant about this interdimensional stuff, because that's when it actually became prevalent, right? The whole theory that Bigfoot was interdimensional had become relevant towards his deathbed. And they believe he watched that, decided that that was the best route to take it to make it sound more believable, and then just started spewing bullshit.
Yeah, I feel like the story is much more, I don't want to say I believe the story, but I feel like the story is a much better story and more easily
digested
and more easily, are more willing to accept that story than when he starts throwing the sci-fi in there.
Yeah, more people are willing to accept like an unknown ape species attacking us in the mountains rather than fucking interdimensional spiritual vibrations inhabiting ape bodies and coming to beat us up middle of nowhere for no reason.
I feel that bringing the spiritual stuff up hurts the story more. It discredits the initial story, especially when you start making up all this shit after all of your corroborators died.
I really tend to believe, like a lot of the people that I read that were kind of going over this case, I really believe Fred was just old and seen that theory and then just wanted to rekindle some type of relevance. You know what I mean? He just wanted more attention and decided to go that route. I do believe that they told the story originally how it happened at first and then just decided to go with some bullshit.
I think he ruined his own story by adding that shit on.
Yeah. Fred's definitely discredited. I don't like anything to do with his theory now. So, but I do believe that the original story that was told when they first came out of Ape Canyon, I believe that's probably what happened. If there was a story there, right? If it's not a hoax, I believe that's what happened.
They were all high on minor gas, or they went up there and they ate a bunch of mushrooms.
You know, that's actually a good point. They could have had some type of inhalation of a gas in a mine and definitely been tripping.
Possibly.
They say weird stuff could happen up in the mountains at night, man. Things about air pressure, all that jazz.
Low oxygen can definitely make you see some stuff. But I mean, the chances of 5 or 6 men all doing that, it's very low.
All right, so
we all hate Fred.
Yeah, I don't like Fred. I like Hank.
Yeah, that's what I said. Fred just wanted some more attention before he died, I think. Everybody else was gone.
Hank and his 30-30. That's my guy right there.
Hank and the Winchester, man.
Anyway, our next story covers the Melba Ketchum controversy. In November 2012, veterinarian Melba Ketchum and her team at DNA Diagnostics released a press statement claiming to have found definitive proof of Bigfoot's existence. The study, which Ketchum described as a comprehensive 5-year analysis, reportedly identified Sasquatch as a hybrid species resulting from a cross between modern humans and an unknown primate species. Ketchum's press release called for the official recognition of Sasquatch as an indigenous people advocating for their protection against exploitation. However, the scientific community was quick to scrutinize the findings. The paper was initially announced to be published in the De Novo Journal of Science, a journal that was registered anonymously just days before the announcement and published only the Sasquatch article. Critics, including experienced geneticists and media outlets, quickly pointed out the journal's dubious status and the study's lack of a rigorous peer review. The paper faced severe criticism for its methodological flaws and unconvincing results, with many experts concluding that the DNA evidence either came back as human or was marred by technical errors. I have an idea. Let's go write like an article on Sasquatch, right? And then let's make a paper and publish that article as the only article coming out in that paper.
That is exactly what she did.
I don't even put a name on it.
Kudos to everybody for calling bullshit on that.
Yeah, hers is a famous case. You can't, again, when I'm looking through a bunch of stuff with Bigfoot, you have to put it out there because she caused quite a fucking stir with this shenanigan. She claimed to have it for like a year or two publicly, right? So she got a lot of hype. A lot of people let her come speak at conventions. She was really relevant for a while in the Bigfoot field because she claimed to have, DNA of Bigfoot that they were analyzing. And so she got a lot of relevancy and a lot of money. So, and then she set the date like, this is when I'm going to put out all the DNA analysis on Bigfoot. So a lot of people were ready to...
All she had to do was lie for longer.
It's one of those things. You see people that lie like that. That's all there is. You can just lie to cover the lie to cover the next lie. But the house of cards is going to come apart at some point in time. And that's pretty much what happened with her. But she was really relevant for a while. She got what she wanted. She got the fame and the stardom, from it. But at the end of the day, it just eventually crumpled around her. She put it out
good
in a paper. And it was, like you said, the only fucking article that was published by the fucking paper that they created. And after scientists looked over it, it was just, it was human DNA. Let's do the same thing,
but let's get like some extra articles. Take the focus off of ours. And
we'll
then
use David's DNA. Oh. It has to be some type of primate in it.
While numerous claims have been made about the existence of Bigfoot, the majority of the scientific community remains highly skeptical. Experts like zoologist John Crane and others attribute belief in Bigfoot more to hoaxes, misidentifications, and psychological factors rather than to real undiscovered species. The primary reason for this widespread skepticism can be grouped into several categories, including lack of physical evidence. No bodies, bones, or confirmed DNA samples have ever been found that can be attributed to species like Bigfoot. Most alleged evidence, such as hair, footprints, and recordings, have either proven to be hoaxes or inconclusive. Misidentifications. Many sightings of Bigfoot have been attributed to misidentified animals, such as bears or other wildlife. Features such as upright walking can be attributed to misinterpretations of animal behavior or appearance. And hoaxes. The history of Bigfoot is rife with hoaxes designed to deceive the public or generate publicity. These hoaxes have included everything from fake footprints to fabricated videos and costumes. Despite skepticism, several organizations and researchers continue to investigate the mystery of Bigfoot. Their efforts range from field research to scientific analysis.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool to go over some of the groups that are still out there. Because there's a few of them, man. I think six or seven. I think I covered 6 that are big, but like these 6 are like the fucking really monstrous groups.
The tip of the spear, you'd say?
Yeah, the tip of the spear. They're definitely the biggest group.
Iceberg.
The more professional.
Because the bigger part of the iceberg's underneath. Anyway, so the first one we're going to get into is the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, or the BFRO.
And I love his name too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Founded in 1995 by Matt Moneymaker, the BFRO is dedicated to investigating Bigfoot sightings and collecting evidence. The organization operates a comprehensive database of reported sightings and organizes field expeditions to investigate claims. The BFRO's approach includes witness interviews, evidence collection, and analysis of audio and video recordings. They also conduct educational outreach to increase public awareness of Bigfoot research. Matt Moneymaker!
There's a lot of
comic book villain.
Matt Moneymaker.
Mr. Moneymaker.
He does sound like he could be a comic book villain.
Sounds like a Flash villain, not
Sounds
a
like
Batman
somebody- yeah.
villain.
But I think there's a lot of good organizations. Like, I think if you look at aliens, Bigfoot, any other cryptid organizations, I think there are good examples out there of organizations that are still around that really don't try to go prove it. Their first thing is to go and listen and then kind of make the best educational decision based upon what they can find. And a lot of them still don't even come out and go, that's true or false. And I like those organizations, man. Like, there's some really good ufology organizations, when we'll get to it, that they go out and try to disprove you right off the bat. That's because they don't want to enter in any information unless they've really done their thorough research, because they don't want people to come in and be like, oh, this could have been a float going by the house. And if they do document it, they make sure to put, like, this is a not good case. It could be easily hoaxed. So I do like the groups like that they're just there to keep documentation and to keep record of, like, these things happening.
They're not trying to sway your opinion or anything.
Yeah.
Is the ones I usually like, where they're just like, hey, here's what we got.
So anyway, the next one is the Sasquatch Genome Project, which we covered on this a little bit already, but initiated by Dr. Melba Ketchum in 2008. This project aimed to analyze DNA samples purportedly from Bigfoot. The project's claims of identifying Sasquatch as a hybrid species have been controversial. The study faced significant criticism from the scientific community due to its issues with peer review and methodological rigor. Despite the controversy, it represents an ambitious attempt to provide genetic evidence for Bigfoot's existence. So there's not much more to elaborate on that, since we already covered a lot of that. Yeah, I think peer review is a big part of that stuff. If you're going to do anything scientific based with trying to prove the existence of something, and you don't go through the proper peer review, then I think you're pretty discredited at that point, and you did it yourself.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much proved it was human DNA. I mean, if you look at the evidence out there, it was human DNA. I mean, if 5,000 scientists tell you got human DNA, I don't care how good of a scientist you are, those other 5,000 outweigh you. That's human DNA.
It's that's what science is. There's theoretical science and then there's science.
Yep. I mean, it's human DNA. It's not real. But they are still an organization. So I tried to include them in the well-known organizations in Bigfoot research still.
The next one is the CSNs, or Cascading Style Sheet. Next we have the Center for Sasquatch Studies. Founded in 2000 by Dr. Jeff Meldrum and others, the CSS focuses on the scientific study of Bigfoot. Dr. Meldrum, a professor of anatomy and anthropology, has been a prominent figure in Bigfoot research, advocating for rigorous scientific investigation. The CSS conducts field research, organizes conferences, and publishes findings related to Bigfoot evidence.
This is actually good. I think I seen him on a documentary on I want to say like Nat Geo or something, and somebody went out there and he was pretty much like walking behind them, disproving why their evidence they were finding was incorrect. Like, this isn't a Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
This one's a bear print, blah 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 blah. This is just scratching of a wildcat on a tree. This blah blah blah. Now this is interesting.
I'm pretty sure that's the same Melba that I seen.
He goes out, he disproves 90% of the thing, but then there's 10% that he's all like, well, this might be something.
Which is the correct scientific minds we need in research like this.
Some of these acronyms for some of these are pretty unfortunate.
Everybody likes the IBS. Yeah,
they've shown it.
I've seen people laugh about IBS.
The International Bigfoot Society, or Irritable Bowel Syndrome. Established in 1997 by Peter Byrne, the IBS supports the study of Bigfoot and organizes conferences and workshops. The society promotes research and provides resources for both amateur and professional researchers. They focus on advancing the understanding of Bigfoot and fostering collaboration among researchers. That seems pretty good. Got a bunch of amateurs and pros out here, and this is just, workshopping to work together.
I didn't actually do any deep dives into this one and International Bigfoot Society, but I do like the fact that they seem to focus a lot on assisting people who are, amateur researchers. It's a good thing. It's a good cause.
Yeah, get them a little more boosted in their hobby.
The next one, we've got the North American Bigfoot Search, or NABS. Founded in 2008 by David Paulides, NABS conducts field research and evidence analysis. Their approach includes using modern technology, such as remote cameras and audio recorders, to gather data on Bigfoot sightings. NABS aims to provide credible evidence through scientific methods and rigorous analysis. There's got another research association there. Let's move on to the next one. The Bigfoot Evidence Research Project, or BERP. Started in 2010, BERP focuses on collecting and analyzing Bigfoot evidence using scientific techniques. The project seeks to provide credible data through field research and evidence analysis, working to advance the understanding of Bigfoot and its potential existence.
Burp. That's my favorite.
Burp.
I like IBS. IBS is second.
Burp and IBS, dude. They go hand in hand, dude. Do you think they work together?
They might. Burp and IBS.
Burp and IBS.
I don't know.
Dude.
I kind of feel like the BFRO, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, might be the best one there.
I think they're the biggest one.
Probably followed by the Center for Sasquatch Studies. It sounds like Dr. Jeff Meldrum is doing stuff the right way.
At least from all I can look at, the BFRO is, I think they're the biggest one out there. At least from what I could find. Now, I don't know background what makes them bigger money-wise, but I'm pretty sure, at least from what I could see, popularity-wise and group size-wise, it looked like the BFRO was the biggest.
Headed by Matt Moneymaker in the blue corner.
And I think it's good to cover it at the end. I mean, if any of you listening want to go out and read a bunch of stuff on Bigfoot, they all have quite a bit of articles. There's quite a bit of well-done research on some of their sites. I think it's good when you go and look at some of them that are headed up by doctors that some of them do their credible research. I'm trying to find out how I want to say that nicely. Some of them do credible research, and they don't just go, it's real. They actually take the time to review their own research and put in the correct opinion that it could be false, that it could be fake, or it could be hoax.
If y'all seen the Bigfoot, say yeah!
Yeah! Oh my god, do you know what video he's talking about?
Nope.
The fucking leprechaun video? If y'all seen a leprechaun, say yeah! Yeah!
No idea. You're gonna have to show me later.
It's a fantastic video. Oh my god. Anybody listening, it's fantastic. Go to YouTube, look up leprechauns in the neighborhood, and it's a real news clip where they went and talked to a local neighborhood where they believed they were overrun by leprechauns. And the guy, whilst telling the story on TV, and there's tons of people in the background back there like, yeah, they're like all hyped, like, we did see these leprechauns. And then he just stops and goes, if anybody's seen a leprechaun, say yeah! And everybody behind him just like, yeah, we seen a leprechaun. That was up in the trees over there. It's a fantastic video. It's hilarious. But I think there's some good research being done on Bigfoot. I love Bigfoot. We are at the end of our show today. So let's get some opinions.
I guess the question is Bigfoot, yes or no? David.
That's what I was going to say. It's the end. Let's see everybody's opinion, dude.
I'm not against it. I think, there could be we're discovering new species in the ocean all the time. We're not really in the mountains a lot. And a lot of times when we are, we don't really have a whole lot of technology with us out there. Most people go up in the mountains, do whatever business they are there to do, and then get the hell out. A lot of small mountain towns, a lot of them do have pretty creepy stories, A lot of them pertaining to Bigfoot or other local myths or legends. I think it's highly likely that there could be a large bipedal monkey that probably a little rarer than most things that we see.
I like it. Not directly shut down like some of our other stuff.
What, like I'm about to do? I'm going to say no.
No?
And why am I going to say no? Because unlike the bottom of the oceans and stuff that we have not explored, people are and it's not a small amount of people. This is a large community going out there with newer and newer technology into the woods that are accessible by humans and not coming back with conclusive evidence of the existence of Bigfoot. This has been going on for decades, where the technology exists for people to go out and do these expeditions and stuff. Not like the bottom of the ocean where the technology has not existed, where they're finding these new species. Granted, people are still finding new species in the Amazon and stuff like that for unexplored parts of the Amazon. I don't think if you've had sightings somewhere and then people go out and explore these same places and don't come back with conclusive evidence for as long as they've been doing it, I don't think they're going to find anything.
I think I'm going to kind of counteract yours, but also say I'm on David's side on this one. I did say prior to even doing this episode that the most believable cryptid for me is Bigfoot. And I think when it comes to going, we have newer technology and we can research this and there would be evidence by now. I think we don't understand that if you got on right now and watched a documentary on Nat Geo when it comes to chimpanzees, do you understand that they go out sometimes and they have to be out there for months to find the chimpanzees? See, we don't stop to think because we can turn it on and go right to the documentary on it, right? But when they actually go out to do the research, they can't find them. Sometimes they go out there and they hike for literal 5 or 6 months to find chimpanzees in the wild.
But you don't think that Bigfoot researchers haven't done that same thing?
But that's the thing. We're trying to say, look at chimpanzees. We talked about this, I believe, but chimpanzees right now are watching villages and they're starting to use hand tools.
Yep.
And they're starting to build
to the Stone Age.
Exactly. So what if Bigfoot is just a earlier, same basis, a primate that watched people from afar and it is now more advanced? If it's so hard to find a chimpanzee that is not what we're considering highly intellectual, if it's that hard to find them and it takes us 5 or 6 months to do so, if something is out there and it's highly intellectual and it's able to track better than we are and do things better than we are, which we already know chimpanzees can smell you from further, they can sense you from further, they can hear you from further, what's to say it can't just stay ahead of you at all times? Always. It's just a better creature.
It totally could.
Plain and simple.
It doesn't even have to be smart. I mean, a lot of creatures avoid cities, streets.
I'm also willing to bet that there are more people going out in search of Bigfoot than there are people going out in search of chimpanzees.
I would agree, but I would also agree that I think the areas we look at are a little bit sketch. I think when they go out and look for Bigfoot in fucking California, I don't think if there was one left, it would be in California. I think maybe if you went to Canada, into just fucking remote areas of Canada, maybe that's where you would see it. But then once you get into those remote areas that are super desolate like that, then you go from, there's 1,000 people that look for Bigfoot a year to there were 2. You know what I mean? There were 2 guys that went out into that area for the entire year. Because there's places in Canada where they have to get dropped off by fucking plane and, maybe 4 people a year go there. So I would think it would track towards that area, right? It's the same when you go to the Amazon. Amazon's actually more, I think I would be correct in saying the Amazon is more trekked now by people than some of those remote areas in Canada. Because there's tribes in the Amazons, whereas I don't think there's tribes in those very desolate areas of Canada. Like I watched an episode of, I can't remember what documentary it was, but it was a fucking guy. They went out bear hunting, pretty much, and they got attacked by a bear in that desolate area of Canada. And I mean, they were talking about how it was to get there and how many people actually go there, and it was only like a handful of people every year. And there's just so much land there that something that size could just disappear.
So, yes, we've got 2 for and 1 against.
I don't think me and David are for, though. I think we're right on the cusp. I think it's possible. I think there's possibilities.
I think it's possible, but with the amount of hoaxes, I'm going to be so skeptical until I can eat a Bigfoot burger.
That's exactly right. It's hard for me, man. It's very hard for me because I want to see stuff. That's why I think it's going to be fun to get us out as a group and go look for ghosts and demons and stuff,
That doesn't mean that I don't enjoy watching a show about Bigfoot If it's got production value and it's interesting, I'm going to fucking smack you in your face.
If it's interesting, you're going to smack me, dude?
Anyway.
Show was so good it'll make you slap at David.
In conclusion, the quest to uncover the truth behind Bigfoot continues to captivate and intrigue people worldwide. Despite numerous sightings, claims, and ongoing research, the elusive nature of this creature remains a persistent mystery. Whether seen as a symbol of the unknown or genuine cryptid, Bigfoot remains an enduring icon of the human imagination, reflecting our fascination with the unexplained and the wild unknown.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Paramurdercast. I'm David.
I'm CJ.
And I'm Daniel. We hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to visit our website at paramurdercast.com for everything paramurder. There you can check out our merch store where we're releasing new designs all the time, so be sure to snag yourself something awesome. If you'd like to support the show, subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/paramurdercast. We're working on exclusive bonus content for our patrons each month. You can also find a donation link at the bottom of each episode information section on your favorite podcast platform. Every bit goes to support us and help us keep the lights on. Also, if you're listening to this and you enjoyed it, please help us out. Rate, review, comment, let us know how we're doing, and we appreciate it. Until next time, stay curious and stay spooky, and we love you guys.
Thanks for tuning in. We hope you join us again. Until then, may your nights be restless and your dreams haunted. And beware the things that go bump in the night.
It hovered near the top of the north cliff of Ape Canyon. That was the site where we later blasted out our shaft. We got a little close.
Oh my god! I didn't put two and two together on that until you just did it, and I heard you slowly realize.
I tried so hard, dude.
It was just listening to you go, and then we blasted on our shaft. I could hear you struggle.
I thought if I just skated past it, I could just not acknowledge it. Dude.
Oh my god.
It festered.
Oh, I just laughed so hard again that I got dizzy. I'm probably fucking purple.
I got tears in my eyes.
Oh god.
You want some ibuprofen?
Oh.
I got some.
Oh my god. No, it was just a headache. I fucking laughed so hard about popping my eyeballs out.
I got a bottle of ibuprofen.
Woo. God dang.
Alright.
I laughed myself dizzy on that. Not even joking.
Should I just pick up after that or should I try?
No, you can start from right there again. Just
I want to hear you say shaft again and not laugh.
It was just hearing him go and blasted down to the shaft.
Blasted out our shaft, dude. Oh, my glasses are getting foggy.
Woo.
We got a little closer. No, okay. We got a little closer, and we also...
I think you need to start a little bit before that, though, because
okay.
you got to say the shaft part again.
Okay.
I'd started it hovered.